One thing that I picked up in the newest Jedi Survivor trailer is that there are definitely a few elements that look to me like they could actually be a bit more open world than what the first game was. Obviously, Fallen Order was a very linear game. However, there were a few shots in the trailer that definitely looked a lot less linear in terms of the map design. And today I wanted to kind of discuss that and delve a bit deeper into that, not only through the stuff that we saw in the trailer, but there's also been an interview with Cameron Monaghan, who is obviously Cal Kestis, on StarWars.com that actually sort of touches on some of the improvements and stuff that they're making as well. So put on your tinfoil hats with me, boys. We're going for a bit of a ride on this one. Before we do get into it, if you guys end up enjoying the video, then be sure to leave a like down below. And if you are new to the channel, then definitely hit that subscribe button for more Jedi Survivor content. But with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. So the main reason that I kind of felt this way when I was watching the trailer is from some of the shots that we see here on this sort of desert looking planet that is pretty much the planet we see the most throughout this trailer. As of right now, I don't think we know what planet this is, and my guess is that this is a completely new planet within Star Wars. I don't think this is anywhere that we've seen before. And some of the shots that you can see here, as I mentioned, they do look a little bit more open world in terms of just the scale of the level design, the way that the map is actually laid out. It's not so linear. There are different paths to get to different areas, and it just looks like there is plenty to explore on this planet. Now, we obviously don't see that so much on every other planet that we see in both of the trailers so far. There definitely looks like there are some more linear moments throughout the game as well, and I'm just going to preface the video by saying that I do still think this will be a linear game. I don't think this will be like a legitimate open world game, and that's for a few different reasons. One, I just don't think that necessarily suits this type of game. I think the sort of action adventure type of video game, they do need to be a little bit linear to drive you in the right direction and tell the story the way it needs to be told. And then on top of that, they also just, I don't think they've had enough time to actually develop a genuine open world game. We know that a lot of games out there that are, you know, the top tier open world games, Red Dead Redemption 2, Elden Ring, Skyrim, all of those games take like 6 or 7 years, if not even longer, to actually design. And this one's only had about 3 years of development. So I don't think it will be a legitimate open world game, but I do think there will be a lot more open world elements is kind of what I'm getting at. Now, from this shot that we see here where we're kind of behind Callum, we can see all of that area that he's looking at. You can see multiple different areas that look to be playable. Now, we don't know that. A lot of map design can sometimes look like it's a playable area, but it's just to add detail and immersiveness to the map. The same was the case in Fallen Order. There was a lot of places that, you know, they were detailed pretty well, but you couldn't actually go there. And so we don't know that, and we won't know it until we play it. But a lot of those areas do look fairly playable. Obviously, the sort of village down there, that's obviously going to be playable. That will most likely be the main area of that planet. But there do seem to be a few other areas as well. If you look straight in the background, there is this white sort of structure over there that we can see at another point in the trailer as well. Again, whether that's playable or not, I'm not too sure, but it looks like that is maybe like a gate to another area, for example. If you then look to the left, I'm not 100% sure if this is playable, but it looks like you can kind of climb up that little hill there and get into the actual like rock formation over there all the way on the left. And then if you guys watched my trailer breakdown, that sort of big weird structure in the background, whether that's a structure or like a rock formation or something, I'm not really too sure what it is. It looks a bit like a mushroom, to be honest, but that also looks like it could potentially be playable. And again, it could just be there for looks. But if all three of those different areas are playable on top of that main village down there, as well as potentially what else we can't even see, there is that sort of rock formation right in front of Kel that's kind of blocking a bit of that area. So there could even be more areas that we can't quite see. And if all of those are playable, that is definitely a lot more like open in terms of the level design than it was in Fallen Order, because Fallen Order was very linear. There were definitely parts on certain planets like Zepho, for example, where once you kind of get to the back of the map, I guess you would say, it kind of opened up a little bit more and you could definitely go through a few different areas. I'm thinking of like the area at the back of Zepho where there was a downed Venator, and that was definitely a lot more explorable. But for the most part, that game was definitely very linear, and even when it had areas to explore, they were linear themselves. It was like a little side path, and there was still only really one way to get there. But like I said, if all of these places are playable on just this planet too, this is just one of, you know, potentially 6, 7, 8 planets that could be in the game. I think the first one had 7, potentially 8 if you actually include the Fortress Inquisitorius. So this game will likely have the same amount, if not more. And if we can get this many playable areas on just one screenshot that we can see, then I'm sure you guys can kind of see what I'm getting at, that it definitely feels like it could potentially be a little bit more open world. Now, getting into this interview with Cameron Monaghan, who, like I said, if you guys don't know, he is the actor behind Cal Kestis. He was interviewed on StarWars.com, and it's a pretty short interview. There's not too much to go through. It's all, very shallow stuff, but he did mention a few things that kind of add to the scale of this game. When he was asked about the trailer, he said, "I think it's a great introduction into the scope and the size of this new game. This game is really ambitious in how much it is furthering and progressing not only the gameplay elements from Jedi Fallen Order, but also furthering the story and the characters as well. We're starting to see hints as to where it's going to branch off and what options you're going to be given as a player." So that sentence right there, that is only adding to what I've talked about. Now, obviously that doesn't confirm anything, and that could just be talking about more combat mechanics and different weapon stances and all those sorts of things that we know the game will also improve on. There'll be, probably a bigger skill tree, different ways to play, all those sorts of things. So it could just be talking about those things. And he did also mention the story as well. The scale of the story could go a lot further than the first game. So it doesn't confirm anything judging by what he's saying there, but just the fact that he actually uses the words, the scope and size of this game, combining that with what we can see in this shot here, where we are behind Cal looking at what he can see, it does start to sort of add up that maybe this could have some more like open world potential. So for me personally, like I said, I don't think it will be like an open world game. I think we all know it'll be pretty similar to the first one in terms of the way it plays. It'll be very linear in the actual main story, but to be honest, I do think it will be a lot more open world in terms of just the exploration, the time between missions. I think there will be a lot of time to just go around and explore different areas of each planet, and I do think that is one area that they will really try and improve on the first game, because obviously that was probably one of the biggest downfalls of that first game, or I shouldn't say downfall because it's not something that they failed, they just didn't want to do that because it's not the type of game they were trying to make. But as one of the only real negatives I ever heard about that game was that, yeah, it was really good, but it was fairly linear and it was fairly short, and it would have been cool to have, more exploration. I think as Star Wars fans, we always want to just explore planets and go around to all these cool locations and see what we can find. So I do think that is something that they'll try and focus on, and judging by, the combination of what Cameron Monaghan said, as well as just literally the shots that we see in the trailer, I do personally think that the game will have a lot more open world elements. But I'm keen to hear what you guys think, whether you agree with what I'm saying or whether you think I definitely have the tinfoil hat on and I'm just hoping that it's going to be a lot more open world. And so let me know your thoughts down in the comments, whether you guys want it to be more open world or whether you guys also want it to just stick true to what the first game was and be a little bit more linear. I'm definitely keen to hear what you guys have to say. But that is going to do it for this one. Like I said earlier, be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications for more Jedi Survivor content. We are going to be pumping out the speculation and the news and all that kind of thing leading up to launch. So keep your eyes peeled right here on the channel. Thank you guys very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you always.